Hello, dear students. So for today, we're going to talk about Chapter 5, which tackles about the human biocultural and social evolution. These are the different objectives that we're going to focus on today. So the first one is that we're going to trace the origins of culture and discuss the human capacity for culture. And then also the second one, we try to discuss what's the role of our culture in the way humans adapt. And the third one, we try also to discuss the process involved in cultural and social-political evolution. Like, is there a relevance between our political institutions and also with our cultural evolutions? And then lastly, we're going to identify what are the different views on social-political evolution. So the first one is that we're going to discuss about the growth and development of society. Specifically, I'm going to introduce what are the three types of societal evolutions. Now, there are actually three societal evolutions, and these are biological evolution, technological evolution, biocultural, or also called as the cultural evolution. Now, let's try to trace these three. How do they differ from each other? So the very first one is that we have the biological evolution. Now, it refers to the process whereby organisms undergo various genetic and physical changes that pave way for biological diversity. Now, as you can see, or as you also learned previously about Charles Darwin, diba, from the term what we call biological, meaning it has something to do with our biological composition, with our physical appearances. That has something to do with it. There was this one documentation way back about how humans evolve, especially if we're going to look at it at the view of Charles Darwin. We actually came from apes and eventually we developed. And in fact, we're actually the highest form of animals. Now, as you can see, as we grow or as we develop, our physical attributes eventually change. If we compare our looks now from the looks way back or millions of years ago, it's actually very different. Now, if you're able to somehow see this documentation, The Great Human Odyssey, this actually explains that we somehow almost got extinct. Okay? In fact, there were just about 600 people remained for the whole world. Luckily, they were able to propagate. That's why now, no, we actually reach billions of people or more than billions of people. Francisco Jose Ayala is a noted Spanish American biologist, and these are actually those phrases or paragraphs that came from him. So the first one is that there are various type of plants, animals, and other living things on Earth that have their origins in other pre-existing types and distinguishable differences. These are due to modifications in successive generations. Yes, because slowly, as you can see, it's actually possible that as we evolve, a new species will emerge or somehow a new modification of that species will eventually evolve. Like say for example, lizards. There are actually also what we call lizards that can fly. And also it could be that they evolve because of their conditions or they actually evolve depending on their adaptations to their environment. So see, since these flying lizards are into um, growing into coconut trees. So it's possible that they were able to develop this certain attributes such as gliding from one coconut tree to the other, thus making them referred to as what we call those flying lizards. Another also is that biological evolution is a process of descent with modification. So lineages of organisms change through generations. Diversity arises because lineages that descend from common ancestors diverge through time. Now, let's take for example the emergence of what we call as dimples. Now, do you know that dimples are actually considered to be genetic defects? But luckily, although these are actually genetic defects, but it is somehow good to look at. Way back, as you notice, only very few people have this certain genetic defect, such as our dimples. But nowadays, as you can see, dimples are becoming commonly known. So this can be considered as a product or maybe a modification of generations to generations. So the second noticeable evolution that we can notice with our society is that what we call the technological evolution. Now, people learn how to create tools and equipment for their daily tasks, such as planting crops, domesticating animals, and trade. And even up until now, our technology is still evolving. Okay. Second one also, people learn to live together as a society, shared beliefs, ideas, values, attitudes, practices, knowledge, and material possessions were accumulated over time and forged a sense of culture among the members of society. Now, because of the advancement of technology, because of the emergence of different technological tools, eventually people have shared the same beliefs or can somehow share virtually. Okay, thus making also this technological evolution as an important factor of the societal evolution. The last type of societal evolution is what we call the cultural evolution, or also referred as biocultural evolution. Now, this evolution was actually introduced in the 1970s, and it refers to the mutual interactive of human biology and culture, meaning the certain concept focuses on the idea that biology makes culture possible and that developing culture further influence the direction of biological evolution. Now let's focus on how biology makes culture possible and how are they related. Now please remember that when we talk about biology, it is what we call the study of life. Now, how will eventually be culture possible if there will be no study of life or no life at all? So it's very important that for culture to be possible, there should be life or there should be what we call the study of life. Now, the important thing also that you need to note is that how is culture influencing the direction of our biological evolution? Okay, now remember again, culture plays a major role of how we adapt, how we evolve biologically. One example is that how Filipinos were actually tagged to be good singers. Okay, because for one, our way of life, especially during special occasion, always involves karaoke or videoke. We always love to sing. That's actually one of the reasons that somehow maybe our vocal cords, our voices develop or our also sense. There's actually a modification within our body or within our system that will allow us how to sing better, how to sing in tune. Hence, we can say that because of our way of life, it eventually influence the way we evolve biologically, the way our body also develops and modifies itself. Lastly, we need also to remember that biocultural evolution recognizes the role of culture in social evolution. So, cultural development is interconnected with people's capacity for language, tool making, and technological evolution. So, whatever it is, whatever our way of life is it eventually influences the way we communicate, the way we make our technologies, the way we make our tools.